You're listening to Ecto Portal, a journey into the unknown with Anthony Anderson and Verna Wilson.
I hope that you are seated comfortably, with the light turned down and the curtains drawn.
Again to Ecto Portal, another journey into the unexplored, the unexplained. I'm Anthony Anderson, your host, and I'm here with Verna Wilson, who's putting something up in the closet.
What am I putting in the closet?
I don't know.
We're here to explain the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't have any...
Well, I'm good and bad, but I guess that just leaves you. That's ugly, right?
Ugly Verna, that's me, yeah.
Ugly Verna! Anyway, what is this week's show?
This week's show...
Speaking of ugly.
Yeah, speaking of ugly, and it's an ugly story, I hate to say, is The Exorcism of Anna Eckland. It was a story of a 20th century exorcism that was supposed to remain a secret, but it didn't, and it inspired some horror films.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds gruesome.
Exorcism stories are never pretty.
No. So what have you done lately?
What have I done lately?
Besides exorcisms.
Well, I've just been visiting different places with my boyfriend. We went to some...
That's not vague at all.
That's not vague. Well, okay. Well, I've been doing lots of things lately. I've been visiting different places with my boyfriend. He took me to this park where there's a large lake, and there's a lot of ducks around, and one of the ducks started following me. He actually followed me, and he tried to follow me all the way to the parking lot.
Did he ask you for money?
The duck?
Yeah.
Almost.
Okay.
He was quacking a lot, and he was following me like a dog. And the other ducks, they like to follow people because there's a lot of people around, and people give them, little food to eat. Yep. But this duck in particular, I actually bent over and I called him like a dog, and he came up to me like a dog, and he started following me like a dog. And he followed me almost up to the parking lot, and he wouldn't leave.
Like, I want to go home with you.
Yeah, he was really cute.
Did you tell him you often eat duck?
No, I didn't tell him that.
You left that part out.
I would never tell a duck that.
You should say, I eat duck, and see if he runs back to his other duck friends.
Actually, he would probably not even understand. He'd probably start quacking more. But he was a big quacker. He was a really pretty duck. Wow. But he followed me everywhere, and I thought it was really cute. It was like a little dog.
Aww.
It's an story. Yeah, it was really cute.
Not a duh story, but an aw.
Yeah, an aw story. But anyway, besides visiting lakes with ducks that follow you like dogs, I've just been doing writing, and I've been looking for places to submit my writing to. Okay. So, just busy with that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, still working on the book, but I saw a movie. I started to see a movie releases. Speaking of exorcisms, it was a movie called The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe, and it's been out for a while now.
He's a good actor.
He's a good actor, but this movie was crap.
Oh.
So it started out kind of interesting. He's like a getting on there, upper middle-aged exorcist who works for the Pope, the Vatican. And he's being called up in front of this tribunal about, okay, you're extreme, and basically they want to fire him. It's like the new brigade wants to fire him. And then there's this possession, of course, This boy is possessed. And it literally rips off The Exorcist almost by line. They go to see this boy,
So it wasn't that original.
and he goes, "You're all gonna die." And then next thing you know, he's getting an MRI in that chamber to scan his head. Mm-hmm. And then he pulls up a shirt and there's writing on his stomach. I'm like, this whole thing is just a horrible, horrible ripoff. I turned it off. I couldn't take it anymore.
It was that bad?
Well, when you rip off a movie, don't be so blatant. Jeez.
It's like, have a little originality.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it was even produced and script accepted.
It's just terrible. It was awful.
Wow. Okay.
So I highly don't recommend it.
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get on to the paranormal news.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, okay.
And welcome back to the paranormal news. You have one that's pretty topical, don't you?
I do. It's from the Huffington Post. It's about the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh.
Yeah, they're going to be providing, the Loch Ness Centre in Scotland is calling for volunteers and Loch Ness Monster hunters to join in what it calls the largest search for the Loch Ness Monster since the 1970s.
Why would you want a bunch of people, volunteers, looking at the same time on the loch? What a disaster that's going to be.
Well, they said that this week, the Visitor Center said that modern technology, such as drones that produces thermal images of the lake, will search the waters in a way that's never been done before. So they're going to use new technology for this.
How could a drone get through all the muck, though?
Well, they said that the new surface water search for Nessie, which is planned for the week of August 26th and 27th, which has already happened.
Yeah.
It's billed as the largest of its kind since the investigation studied the loch for signs of the monster in 1972. So it's the center is located at the old Drummadrochit Hotel. I am totally
Probably a Celtic Scot word there. It's
Drummadrochit Hotel, and if I am smashing that word, forgive me if you're from the area.
I think you totally abused it.
I did. Drummadrochit Hotel. I pronounced it right.
Okay.
Okay. And in 1933, the manager Aldi McKay reported spotting a water beast in the loch, which is, the largest lake there by volume in the United Kingdom and one of the deepest. And of course, the story got around, and there's been lots of hoaxes and eyewitness accounts, and over the years, there's been people claiming back and
I
forth
went
they've
there.
seen
I
it.
didn't see it. I looked for Nessie. I looked out off the coast, and I went to the gift shop, and they closed. And the museum I couldn't get into. It was sad.
Right. Well, they said that the creature could have been a giant eel.
Yeah.
Who knows what it could have been. So, but anyway, they said that they're going to deploy drones equipped with infrared camera so that they can produce thermal images of the water from the air. And a hydrophone will also be used to detect acoustic signals under the water.
I'd be curious to see what they find.
I know, me too. And volunteers will be asked to keep an eye out for any breaks or any movements in the water with guidance from experts on what to look out for and how to record findings. So it's their hope to inspire a new generation of Loch Ness hunters, Loch Ness enthusiasts. So by joining the Surface Watch, you'll have an opportunity to contribute to the research and see what happens. And it's also been claimed that extraterrestrial life could be trying to stay hidden by lurking just outside our solar systems, that they're not. Anyway, I don't know where
Did you just hit your head again? Oh my God! You keep hitting
I don't
your
know where
head.
that came from.
I don't know, but I think you mean to go back under the water and the loch, and we'll see you a little bit later. All right, so I have an article. It's about a UFO.
I don't know where that came from.
Was that a segue? Is that what you're doing?
Anyway,
segue into my article?
No, to conclude this Loch Ness article, I don't know where that came from.
I don't know where the Loch Ness Monster came from, but
I really hope they find something, because remember when we did that show? We did a show about the Loch Ness, didn't we?
Well, we did it about creatures in the deep. That was an interesting show, though.
It was. Creatures. He was included in that show.
He came from the depths. That's
Right, came from the depths. That was a good show. That was one of our beginning shows the first year. And I remember that we talked about that they need to do a new search because new technology has evolved since then.
Well, I love the drones idea. I'm just worried that it's got to be underwater drone, so it's not flying. It's probably just powered underwater.
Right.
So it's like mini little subs that are drones.
And also, who knows what they're going to find besides Nessie? They might find something else because it's a deep lake. Scotland's an old place.
Yeah.
Of course it is. You know, we don't know what lives underneath there.
No.
So they might find something else. It'll be interesting nonetheless. Yeah.
So mine is about a UFO filmed in Washington State, my home state. Witness was out for a walk in Washington State, captured some footage of an odd UFO shimmering in the sky. The peculiar sighting occurred in mid-July, this past July, but only came to light this past week. The person who filmed it was on a late morning walk when they noticed a flashing orb that would move slightly up and down, left and right. The shape, it was metallic looking, seemed to shimmer in the light, and it kind of resembled the element of mercury in liquid form, so it would shimmer. The witness went on to say that after moving around in the sky, the eerily silent UFO would then appear to stop in place, as it was always moving in a general direction, but they don't really know what it was. They couldn't, they weren't for sure. Was it a UFO? They said it might have been a mylar balloon, which would explain its reflectivity, but you almost hear that for every excuse for every UFO sighting. There's been a lot lately. And again, I think it's because everybody has a phone all the time, everywhere they go, so you're not restricted anymore. So we've talked about this before. Everybody who has a phone, you're going to capture a lot more UFOs now because you just can. You can capture a lot. So, I don't know. It's interesting. And there's a lot of them. It seems to be picking up speed more and more. What are you looking at me and staring at me with that weird-ass look like you hit your head again? You keep hitting your head. Get off the floor.
I'm listening to you.
Off my
Jeez.
floor? That's creeping me out. You're like Chucky or something down there. Anyway, all right, so that's the paranormal news. We're just going to move on, okay? That's the paranormal news, folks.
I'm giving him a really weird look,
We're going to move on to the show now.
Well, this is the Exorcism of Anna Eckland. And it's a 20th century exorcism that was supposed to remain a secret, but it inspired horror films, and the secret eventually came out. So anyway, her name was Anna Eckland, and she was actually a name for Emma Schmidt, but that was her real name. I don't know why they changed her name, but she was born on March 23rd, 1882, and she lived till July 23rd, 1941. She was an American woman who was demonically possessed, and she had some exorcisms that occurred over several decades, in fact, decades.
Decades?
Yeah.
Yikes.
It was very extensively that lasted from August 18th to December 23rd, 1928 in Earling, Iowa. And she was said to exhibit all these symptoms of possession.
When was she born?
She was born 1882.
Okay, 82. I'm just thinking how old she would have been when that 28.
She was pretty young when she had the other when that one occurred.
Would be, 48 years old?
In
48 by that time.
Yeah, she was 48,
Okay.
right. But she was possessed beginning at age 14, and she was 46 years old
I see.
with her final exorcism
Gotcha.
by Father Theophilus Reisinger, who was a Roman Catholic priest. So she's considered one of the most famous exorcisms in the United States.
Yeah.
And she was portrayed in a film that was done in 2016 called The Exorcism of Anna Eckland. And there's a lot of accounts of the true story, and nobody knows the full truth of the story.
Yeah.
So, and there was a book about it that was written in the 1930s by Carl Vogel. It's called Begone Satan, and it was translated into English by Celestine Kapsner in 1973. And so anyway, there was a lot of, it brought a lot of attention to her case. Mm-hmm. And her original name was Emma Schmidt, and she her original name is Emma Schmidt, and she was born in Wisconsin, Marathon, Wisconsin, in 1882. Her mother is believed to have died in 1980, and her father was abusive. He was an alcoholic, and apparently she was a Catholic, a very devout Catholic, and she went to church on a regular basis. And at the age of 14, she was unable to enter a church, apparently, without violent thoughts entering her mind. Ideas of smashing holy water fonts and harming priests.
Reminds me of The Omen, where little Damien couldn't go into the church, remember, to get baptized.
Mm-hmm. Right, but she just didn't want to enter there, and she just couldn't enter there, and she had thoughts about smashing, holy water fonts, and she didn't like it, and she was unable to receive communion as well. So apparently something wasn't going right for her, and it got so bad that she was unable to enter the church without being held back by what she called a hidden power. And the church got involved to help and contacted Father Theophilus Reisinger.
Theophilus?
Theophilus Reisinger, yeah. So Theophilus Reisinger was born in Germany in 1868. At the age of 20, he joined the Capuchins, which is am I pronouncing that right?
I have no idea.
Capuchins. And they're an order of the Franciscan monks.
Okay.
And the Capuchins were inspired to live in a radical Franciscan manner. I'm laughing because I'm hoping I didn't say that wrong. And, the emphasis is on prayer and poverty. And he emigrated to the United States, and he began practicing in New York City before moving to the Midwest in 1912. So it was in the Midwest that he first heard about Anna Eckland, and he performed his first exorcism on her after arriving in 1912, and it was supposed to be successful. Mm. She was able to return to her regular life, and he actually developed a reputation for exorcisms, and he went to perform further exorcisms. He performed about 19 altogether.
Wow.
Yeah.
On her or in general?
In general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, they're trained in that her when they're training as priests. Yeah. So, but I suppose if you become specialized, you're specialized in that. Yeah. Anyway, her life was peaceful for a while, but it didn't last, but it wasn't peaceful for very long. She became convinced that her problems came from her abusive father and her Aunt Minna. And at the time of her first exorcism, it was reported that her Aunt Minna was a witch who would put cursed herbs in her food and place curses on her. And despite both her father and Minna both being dead, she felt that their spirits continued to haunt her and usher a demonic presence into her room.
You know what it sounds like to me a little bit, though? A little bit of schizophrenia, a little bit of paranoia.
It does to me, too.
Like, she already has issues. Like, if you think your stepmom is casting spells on you,
right,
or your stepdad's wife or whatever, that it just seemed like she was already paranoid and kind of.
But it makes me wonder. She lived a peaceful life for a while. Then all of a sudden, she started blaming her childhood, blaming her father, and having these.
If she's like obsessive compulsive, or even if she's bipolar, part of it would trigger again,
right?
And she feeds off it.
So it could have been that she had she was mentally ill, and those problems weren't known back then, and she was fine for a while, and all of a sudden.
Or split personality.
All of a sudden, she started getting paranoia again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the second exorcism happened in Iowa with Father Reisinger. He was called upon to again remove the demons, and he sought the assistance of a friend of his named Reverend Joseph Steiger, and he asked him for permission to perform the exorcism in his parish. So,
was this all through the Catholic Church still? They're all like sanctioning this. Go ahead, you can
right.
do it. Okay.
So anyway, in Iowa, it had some advantages going to that parish. There was a Catholic church and a convent where Eckland could stay during the exorcism. Oh, okay. And although Earling was close to Des Moines, with a major railway to allow for travel in a small town, this meant that the exorcism could be carried out in secret. They didn't want it known to the public.
Keep it under wraps.
Right. So she arrived in Earling on August 18th, 1828, and she later reported that on her arrival, she experienced a feeling of rage when she arrived at the convent. She wanted to attack the nuns, and she could tell that the food that the food she was given been blessed, and she refused to eat. She refused to drink from there, and they said that her behavior started getting really weird. And another odd behavior symptom was that she was purring while she was waiting for Father Reisinger. Purring. I mean, come on. I mean, really? I've never heard of anybody purring.
No.
I mean, does that sound like this? I mean, I don't know.
Okay, Wilbur the talking mule. Or the Francis the talking mule.
I do sound
Wilbur.
I sound like a darn horse.
Okay, I can honestly say I've never heard of another possession story where
somebody's purring. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but I sound like a darn horse when I tried to imitate it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Well.
Don't make me laugh. Stop.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, when Reisinger arrived at the train station, he was met by Steiger.
You're doing it all
down.
on your own.
Calm down. He was met by Steiger, who was supposed to drive them to the convent.
Stop.
Okay.
Now continue.
Anyway, the car refused to accelerate to full speed when he was supposed to drive, and he was a little worried about that. But Reisinger wasn't surprised because he thought, of course, that things are going to go wrong, right? So anyway, she was tied to an iron bed. And she was held down by the strongest nuns in the convent. And as he began speaking the rites, her eyes fell shut, and she appeared as if she was sedated. But suddenly she was able to dislodge herself from the bed, and she threw herself high against the wall. So, she began to
Kindly
scream.
undo these straps.
That was good. That was really good. She began to scream, and when she was commanded by the priest to stop, she responded in various languages. She spoke in English, German, and Latin, and she claimed to be multiple entities, including Beelzebub, Judas, and also her father and Aunt Minna.
She's a whole party in there.
She did. I mean, it's that part I don't think is funny. It's sad, actually.
Well, yeah. Again,
it's very sad. It sounds like schizophrenia almost.
Personality, schizophrenia, bipolar. She could have a lot of problems going on.
So anyway, Steiger grew worried and suggested that the exorcism be moved, and it was continued. And at 9 p.m. on December 23rd, she finally leaped up and claimed to have been freed from a terrible burden, and she was able to go back to her life. Go to church. She was fine. She was finally free of any possession.
But she still purrs to this day.
Right. Well, it was meant. So the exorcism itself was meant to remain under wraps, but Carl Vogel actually gathered a lot of eyewitnesses from the time for the book.
That's probably what stirred it up.
And it attracted media and attention, including Time magazine. So the validity of the whole thing is can't be confirmed. Yeah. But a lot of eyewitnesses claim that it's true, while a lot of people said that she was a victim of mental illness. But you remember we had a friend of ours who witnessed exorcisms in his church, Terry. Mm-hmm. I told him a little bit about this case, and what he witnessed confirmed a lot of what's going on here. Yeah. And he said they're always messy. They're always noisy and messy, and they make the body do weird things. And he confirmed it. So,
but then again, brain trauma or something wrong with the chemicals in your brain can trigger weird physical output as well. So
that's true too. And I've always found that, and what he mentioned about the exorcism when he witnessed it in his church, was that the woman was very depressed, and she was very weakened. And if this woman was depressed because of her childhood surroundings, and her mental state was weakened, it makes me wonder if channeling and spirits entering you have to be in a very weakened state for them to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what they say. A weak soul and a weak mind leads to a weak body and a vessel for anyone to take over.
Right. So I do think that they can take over, and I do believe that that negative spirits can produce all kinds of weird stuff going on.
Well, I think they do.
But also, I believe that mentally ill, the person's unable to control it, and that person is so confused about it.
I think if a spirit was possessing someone, they're gonna try things to see how much control they have physically and mentally.
That's right.
And they're gonna see how much ground they've gained just by possessing them. Like, are they able to make them do things? Are they able to make them react to things?
Right.
Outbursts, whatever. But again, science, and I'm not a scientist, you never know.
Gee, really?
You never know. If it's psychology, if it's brain chemicals, if it's schizophrenia, bipolar, multiple personalities, all the above.
Right, and we're both not. Of course, when you say I'm not a scientist, I understand. I know you're not.
Yeah.
I know.
That's good. I'm so glad you said it, because I was afraid you thought I was a scientist for a while.
I thought you had an explanation for everything, but anyway.
I do, but
Right. We both like it when science combines with a lot of explanations of metaphysical and stuff like this. But
what doesn't explain it is...
But this doesn't explain it.
Once it was over, she never had another problem, or that we know of. Right?
Not that we know of, no.
Yeah, and if she didn't, then that doesn't explain scientifically schizophrenia, bipolar, or whatever, because that wouldn't just miraculously go away.
That wouldn't just go away.
Especially if there was no therapy, no drugs, and I'm sure she probably didn't have a lot of that. So if it vanished... Especially
back then, yeah.
So if it vanished, you can't really say that she has those conditions, because it wouldn't have gone away.
It wouldn't have gone away. So she could have been in a weakened state. Some spirits, because I do believe spirits can walk in you when you're in a weakened state.
Well, that's what they say. Never be sick when you investigate. Never be intoxicated or high or on drugs.
That's right.
Because you're
inviting
weakening your state.
You're weakening your state, and you're inviting unwanted energy. Yeah.
Even if you're not inviting, you drop yourself down to a level where it's more inviting.
Well, not inviting like come here, but inviting like
asking for it.
Asking for it because you are not in the state of mind to be able to handle a lot of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Yeah. But it just makes me wonder why some people are more because let's face it, people get depressed and people have gotten over abusive childhoods. Yeah. And they don't get possessed.
No.
So it makes me wonder why some people are more prone to it and others aren't. It's a very sad thing.
It's interesting because we don't hear about these kind of like possessions these days. Maybe it's because we throw so many drugs at people that they're so drugged out that they couldn't be a possession because it's...
Now, when we first did Ecto Portal, we actually had somebody who used to go to people's homes when they felt that...
Doug.
Something like Doug. Doug would do that.
Yeah.
And he didn't claim the same thing. He claimed he witnessed different stuff from people.
Yeah. But I just think with all the drugs that are available out there now, that if you put enough drugs at someone, they're going to be so sedated and so multi-drugged that what these people didn't have was all those drugs. They were just full on. So maybe if someone is possessed Maybe the spirit's like, you know what? This one's getting drugged up. This isn't worth it. I'm moving on. So maybe it's not as easy. I don't know.
You know what I also wonder, and this is something only a priest could answer. Okay.
I'm not a priest either.
Yes, Father Anderson. But they learn this when they're in school.
Uh-huh.
And this is
the exorcists do. Not all priests do, though.
No, all of them do. It's part of their training.
They're not trained as an exorcist.
Yes, they are.
No, every priest is not trained as an exorcist. That's incorrect.
That's not what I heard. Okay.
Blessings and ritual, but not an exorcism. That's a completely different sect of the Catholic Vatican. There's very specific people.
Let me tell you what I've heard. Okay, I've heard differently. I've heard that as part of every priest's training, and I'm talking about every priest in the Catholic Church.
Who told you that?
I asked
Catholic priests when I was in school.
Okay, I asked them too, and I was told that they learn it as part of their training when they're getting to be a priest.
Well, they might learn about it, but I'm talking about there's a very specific group that perform them. They may know about them.
You know, some of the priests in the church that I used to go to in San Jose were actually known to be an exorcist, to do exorcisms. Mm-hmm. So, okay, here's what I was getting.
Different. That means they were allowed to do that.
They were allowed to do that. Okay, I was told
it could just be part of their training.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. But not every priest everywhere does that.
I didn't say that. I just said it's part of their training.
You just said that.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
Every priest I heard is part of their training. I'm not saying that all of them do it, but it's part of their training. They learn it. They learn what it's about. It makes me wonder if today's problems and with what's going on today, if they have upgraded that training to modern times and have modern solutions for it. Of course, they kept the old. They probably kept all the old training because that's what worked for them in the past. But I'm wondering if they have modernized it a little bit.
Well, maybe they control it so it doesn't get out there as much as it used to. They're very, very particular, like keep it quiet, the families keep it quiet.
Or if it does get out there, they don't say anything.
And I bet you they're a lot more skeptical now than they used to be. And they probably have a doctor, a physical doctor, psychologist. They probably have that on board. Because they want to make sure it's a real
They want to make sure it's real. Oh, yeah. I don't think they're...
We should get a real exorcist on our show.
We should. I'd like to get a real exorcist on our show.
I mean a real one. I don't mean like a paranormal enthusiast who says I'm a
No, I don't want that. A real somebody who does it for real and who's been trained in it. I'd like that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So interesting subject. I'm glad she was able to go back to her life, but
most of them don't end that well.
No, they don't. I mean, look what happened to Annalise.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny, Anna?
Anna. Your name's Anna, so you're going to get possessed.
It's like these Annas,
if your name's Anna, change your name. Change your name if you feel possessed. Maybe that'll help.
It does seem strange that there's two Annas that were possessed.
Yeah, the last one was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was. So, but anyway, I'm glad she was able to go back to her life, but it doesn't always end well. No. And actually, Terry mentioned the woman that was possessed in his church. She was able to go back to her life after a while, too.
Some probably do. I'm sure there's probably lots of possessions out there that happen that the people return to normal. We just don't hear about it because they don't want to go publicize them. Because then they'll make bad movies about it.
I mean, of course not. Think about it. If you knew somebody and you heard that they actually were possessed and they had an exorcism, people don't take that stuff very well. No. I wouldn't want it known if I knew somebody.
That's private.
Very private. I mean, can you imagine? Meet so and so. Oh, guess what? She was possessed.
Yeah, she was possessed.
She had an exorcism happen.
Yeah.
And,
there's pictures.
Most people don't like, and most people want to forget about it.
Yeah.
I would hope so. So, anyway.
Yep.
Very interesting subject. If you've seen the movie, read the book, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I'd like to.
And I want to watch the movie, actually.
I might have to check the movie out just to see what it's like.
Right.
All right, folks, that's another episode of Ecto Portal, and until next week, we'll say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Royalty-free, copyright-free music by Kevin MacLeod and Ross Bugden. Be sure to visit us at www.ectoportal.com. Check out our archives on YouTube and head on over for new episodes to ectoportal.podbean.com.